Welcome to another episode of Alex Does Stupid Shit That Doesn't Make Any Money.
Standing out here yelling rabble, rabble, rabble isn't going to help anything.
But we don't know what else to do, Mayor!
I'm your host, Alexander Lewis-Hughes, self-professed kiteboarding guru, and today we're here to answer some more questions that you guys have been asking and see if I can help you out a bit. We've got the main topics as usual for the stream, which tonight are becoming a pro kiter, my Naish quiver, and why keeping it legit matters. So, without further ado, I say we get cracking into some questions. Let's start with some of the ones that came from my Instagram story. I'm just pasting them into the chat myself because I don't know how else to really put them in here, but yeah. So, Kiko-san96 says, how do you learn to be so comfortable unhooked during maneuvers? I don't know, I guess anything you want to be comfortable at, it's just going to take time, right? You've got to spend the time if you want to get comfortable at it. I would say maybe try doing more basics if you don't feel comfortable, like work on getting like back rolls clean, front rolls clean, railies clean, all the basic foundations of what you want to move like higher up to. Check those out first, get comfortable with those, and then I feel like then you're going to be feeling more comfortable doing any other maneuvers you're doing. Maybe even, I don't know, riding around a bit unhooked might make you feel more comfortable if you're not used to how the kite feels unhooked. Maybe fly it on the beach a bit unhooked. That can sometimes help. Try and get the tuning right of your kite. Maybe your front lines and back lines, maybe they're not tuned too well when you're unhooked. A lot of the time, kites will come from the factory tuned so that you will be really oversheeted when you unhook. So, I mean, a big thing to remember, maybe you know this, maybe I'm just like saying stuff that you already know, but yeah, you might have to pull in a fair amount of D-power to get a kite that is properly tuned to unhook, where the back lines aren't too short and it's not back stalling, so that could also make you feel more comfortable. But in general, I think you just want to ride more. Alex Mendel says, sound check, way too much reverb. All right. Let's see. What about now? Does that sound any better? I guess you're going to tell me in like 5 seconds time. Let me try something else. Yeah, is that still better now? I just changed some other things, so maybe it's not so reverby. How's the volume anyway? I'll get cracking on the next question while I'm waiting for you guys. Sweet. People saying it's better, but yeah, that's the fun of live streaming, guys. This is why you do streams, because it's really easy to get streams right. And there's a lot of money in kiteboarding videos, so being a big streamer, it's what you want. Ewan says real quiet, volume dropped. All right, I'll turn it back up. How about now? It says it's all right on my volume graph. Obviously I can't hear myself talking because I'm not listening to the live stream, but perfect. All right. So where were we here? Why are so many kiters posting photos of missed grabs? Tarquin, leader of the Dolphins. I don't know. Why are so many people posting photos of missed grabs? You want me to explain this? I don't know. I feel like this used to be a thing a pretty long time ago. People would post a lot of photos of missed grabs and then they'd get roasted on forums, and then it kind of stopped happening. But now we don't really have forums anymore, and people just seem to be posting photos of not grabbing again. I don't know who you're talking about, but I mean, I have seen quite a lot of photos of missed grabs lately. I guess you could say whoever's posting photos of missed grabs probably doesn't know what they're doing. Whether that's a rider or a brand or whoever's the person responsible for posting it, they're kind of fucking up. Missed grabs basically a delete. So yeah, I don't know what I'm supposed to say about that. So what's the next question we got here? How to take the next step after receiving a basic contract. What is the next step even? Camden Kellett. Camden coming up with the good questions, eh? Let's see. So next step after receiving a basic contract. So what's a basic contract, do you think? Like some gear, or are you getting paid? I'm going to assume basic contract is probably just getting some gear. So what's the next step after that? I don't know, that's a hard one. Look, this is going to be pretty brand specific. I mean, I don't even know that you're talking about a kite contract here, but I'm going to assume that you're probably talking about a kite contract with a kiteboarding company. And I guess the next step is building a relationship with the brand. If you want to progress from, receiving perhaps free equipment or a deal on equipment, the next step would be building some kind of relationship with the brand so you can move onwards from there. So hopefully, you want to be in contact with the team manager or someone at the brand that has some level of control, and you can talk to them about various ideas you have, or maybe even propose various ideas you have in some kind of PDF. Although I'm told lately that PDFs are old school and no one uses PDFs anymore, so you maybe better do it in a Word document. But yeah, I guess making some kind of plan and talking with the brand about what you could do for the future would be the next step. If you've already done that, then I don't know what your next step would be. It's going to be completely different from brand to brand, and completely different with regards with what you want to do. Do you want to be like a competition rider? Do you want to be a rider that produces media? Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of specifics there. That's about as good as I think I can get for answering that one. Go for another question. And most of these questions actually coming from Instagram. A few of them are coming from Facebook, but I got a lot of people replying on Instagram. So thanks everyone that's posting up the questions. Getting quite a few good ones, and yeah, can't ask for much more. Most bizarre board and kite design of all time, Karolina. Jesus. Put me on the spot. For the record, I don't actually look at all these questions before, so I've got about as much time to think about it as you guys. Let me see. Well, we probably need to go on the internet, I guess, don't we, if I can think of it. Man, there's been a lot of bad boards, so this is super hard. I really don't know. I know something that's terrible. No, I will not give you anything. What? I wrote big kiteboard. This isn't big. This is all my ads, I see. Who's got the best ads? What is this brand? NKX Holler Pro Carbon Freeride. It's not loading real quick, is it? Jeez, this stream's really gone down the drain. Well, anyway, I see the board I'm thinking of. It's this thing. This is a really, really, really bad board. Whoever made this, well, you know why this isn't around anymore. Look at this thing. We need a bottom picture because the bottom looks absolutely fucked here. So this is the top of this thing. What have they done? They've got like asymmetric tips that are kind of pointy but have like a flyer. I think this is where you put your leash to. It's supposed to look like, I guess, like an aeroplane or a bomb or something, right? I don't know. Danger. Yeah, fucking right, Danger. This thing's a piece of shit. The only thing they got right is the size. 175. They're living in the future here. Look at these tips too. They're like a flip tip on half of the board's tip. And then it's only got fins on one side of the board. The fuck is this thing? Look. Look at this little steppy tip thing. And then this channel here, and here, and here. What the fuck? What is this thing even for? Is it just for beginners? I remember this board, it's really old. I think it's from like 2002 or 1 or something. I need some better shit. Oh, this one comes with like NSI bindings or something. What? No. Give me a better look at this. Oh, Cabrina backless bindings before they even made them. So they're really just copying themselves. Heavy. All right. Well, anyway, that's what I believe to be the most bizarre board to be made. I don't know. What's the chat think? Anyone else got some better ideas of most bizarre board? I could look it up and get rabbly on it. I don't know about most bizarre kite though. I mean, obviously springs straight to my mind is Naish Helix. This is pretty bad. I mean, I ride Naish, but I don't think I can get behind this one. Whoa, 7 strut Helix. That must be pretty good kite. I don't know what they were thinking with this stuff. To their credit though, I do remember Slingshot also doing some, well, I guess they didn't make it to sell, but I remember them doing some silly things like this with pointy leading edges and shit. But this, yeah. I mean, as far as kites that were sold, I guess this is kind of... Was there that many of them? Naish Code, Naish Helix, Helix. Are these all the same? Jesus. I can't... I know there was some Globe Rider kites that were pretty fucking weird, but... I doubt that I'm going to be able to find them. Yeah. They're not really coming up, are they? Colt. Alex Mendel says Colt. Was that the wave riding one, Alex? I feel like they had so many of these. Can't even believe. Actually, they stopped making Torch that year as well, I'm pretty sure, that they brought out those. Or at least they didn't release it in Australia. I remember Simon Witcherman was trying to unhook on, I don't know if it was the Helix or the Colt, but he definitely wasn't having a great time. Well, yeah, at least we don't have to deal with those anymore. So let's see, what else have we got from the old Instagram? Femi Collins says, let's start an old kite DVDs video archive on archive.org, question mark. Not a bad idea. Is that a good place to do something like that? I don't really know. Archive.org, Internet Archive. Wayback Machine. Ah, yes, I know this website. I guess, yeah, that would probably be a good idea. We could, upload? Can you upload? How to search the archive? How do I borrow a book? What the fuck? I need to know more. How do I know? Open library. Archive it. First deployed. All right, so I guess you can upload stuff to here. Maybe not a bad idea. We would need like probably a lot of the DVDs and stuff to rip to make it work. Is there kiteboarding stuff on here already? Vision. Kiteboarding. Well, there is kind of some stuff on here already. Best kiteboarding user manual. That never needs to be archived. That can just be instantly deleted. That is wasting everyone's time and wasting the internet's space. What else is there? A lot of best shit in here. What the fuck? Maybe we don't want to be in here. Waru user manual, 2008. PKRA. The Ultimate Book of Power Kiting. That sounds good. There's kind of a lot of stuff on here. Is kite surfing going to yield better results? Not really. Alright, yeah. I think it's an alright, tell us about Alex Sands, says Ewan. What do you want to know? I'm trying to find more about the ultimate book of power guiding. Oh look, it's actually a book. Well, skidding? Skidding, 40. What the fuck's skidding? I need to know more. Where's 40? What? We can't see skidding? Or did I just skip wrong? I can't go to 40 pages? Yes. Oh, damn it, that's the back cover. All right, well, I'm sick of this. We've seen enough. Sandsy does skidding. Oh, what? Is skidding like dragging down the beach, I think, on your feet is skidding? Really? I didn't know it was called that. I just thought it was called like foot dragging or something. Sandsy does do skidding. That is how I got into kiteboarding, for anyone that's wondering, was flying kites on the beach with Alex Sands. Very what would I say? Not a questionable character, but definitely not everyone's favorite character, I guess I could say. He's pretty... I don't know what to say about Alex Sands. I'll leave it at that. Passionate character. Yeah, there you go. You and Jasper's on it. I'm lost for words tonight. I'm just working too hard, man. This live stream's fucking hard work. Why do you think the kite industry bases everything, and I mean everything, off of social media? Wow. That's Tom Seeger there. He's got some heat on us. Why do you think the industry bases everything off social media? Probably a rant I've had many a time with different people, but I think there's a few reasons that the industry or brands or people base a lot of social media. I think foremost because looking at social media and looking at those stats is a lot easier than doing anything else. If you only need to go to one place, check some likes and views, which you think are good statistics, and rank that against other people, then you've done your job in a couple clicks of a button. I could do their job on the live stream right here for you. I could jump over to the screen share, pull up Instagram, decline all the optional cookies, not be able to log in, and yeah, I guess I wouldn't be able to do their job. Maybe their job's actually pretty hard. But for real, you know, looking at stats and weighing these things up on the internet is far easier than checking out what's happening in real life. If you need to go to different beaches where the people ride and check how much influence they have on different people and keep track of all the movements of all the different people on the team and what they're doing, and you know, this is all time consuming. So I guess, you know, every job people want to do the least work. So I think Instagram is a great way for a lot of people to do the least work they can possibly do, whether that be riders, whether that be people that are looking at what riders to sponsor. Instagram's a great way to waste time and do a lot less work. So I think that's why a lot of things are based off of social media, whether it be Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, yeah, you name it. Old Sansy, eh? Sansy boy. Have you figured out who Steezy Pete is yet? Tarquin, leader of the Dolphins. Actually, I haven't. I do remember last stream someone bringing up Steezy Pete. So this is the second time Steezy Pete's been brought up. Is it worth me viewing? Chat, let me know. Do I need to find out who Steezy Pete is, or is it not a good band? Oh, Lauren. Yes. Will there be another standard miss, and if so, will it premiere? Lauren, every standard miss will have a premiere. It's a great way to build character, have fun with friends, and waste some time. So yeah, if there's another standard miss, you can almost guarantee you'll have a premiere. And will there be another standard miss? Sure. Why not? Everyone loves standard miss, don't they? It's like one of the most popular kiteboarding videos I think that I've put out is every standard miss episode just keeps getting better. So yeah, for sure, there's going to be another standard miss. I reckon we should move it into the main topics for the night, and the first one is becoming a pro kiter with a question mark. And I didn't have enough space in the caption to write exactly what I wanted, but it was, should you become a pro kiter? If you're a kid out there, if you're thinking about becoming a pro kiter, you know, how do you become a pro kiter? What's the steps you need to take? Is it a good idea? And I guess the main recommendation I can make is no, it's a bad idea. Being a pro kiter is not a good idea for a few reasons, mainly because you're not really going to be able to get paid to be a pro kiter enough that it can be your job. I think that the term pro kiter is kind of an oxymoron. It doesn't really exist. I mean, there's maybe 4 or 5 people out there that are making above minimum wage as a kiteboarder, but I think the big majority of riders out there, they're not making money. So really, they're not a pro kiter. I'm not a pro kiter. I don't make enough money off kiting to live off kiting. I don't think I've ever made over minimum wage from being a kiter. So my recommendation to kids is think of something that you can do outside of kiteboarding, probably would be best, that can give you enough time and flexibility in the location that you can do as much kiteboarding as possible outside of whatever you're doing. Sure, there's some inside industry jobs that you could get, working in a brand as maybe a designer or social media or logistics. There's these things you can do, but I don't think they're like either a very, let's say, a very stable situation. I feel like the kite industry fluctuates so often up and down, and people coming and going all the time. So yeah, my recommendation I think for kids is just do kiting because you love it, foremost. If you really like to kiteboard, then just keep doing it. Find a way to keep doing it. That was always my goal. Was I was never trying to be a pro kiteboarder. I never thought I'd get paid to go kiteboarding. So, you know, getting paid something to go kiteboarding was a big bonus for me, and I'm grateful that, you know, I ever did get paid to go kiteboarding. But at the same time, I never thought, you know, I'd make a decent living off kiteboarding, and there's definitely not a reality. So for people out there, for kids out there that think, you know, they're going to be able to make money and be a pro kiter, it's just not like that. This sport, this whole industry is way too small. Don't focus all your time and energy on that, because I feel at some point you're just going to end up disappointed. I get quite a few questions from different younger guys that I'm not going to bring up that ask me about stuff like this, and yeah, it's always a similar thing. They always expecting that at a certain point that they're gonna one up themselves and move to like another level where they get paid more and you know, they can make a decent income and survive off kiting. But I mean, nowadays more than ever, I think that's just not the case. So yeah, don't try and become a pro kiter. See what else you can do around the sport that's going to give you the flexibility to do the sport as much as you can, and then stay passionate about it. Alrighty, I'm going to move back into the questions. Naming tricks, past versus now. Karolina Winkowska. What do you mean past versus now? Is there something happening now that I don't know about? Anyone in the chat want to let me know about some naming controversies that I'm missing? I mean, way back there was, I would say, quite a lot of arguments about naming. At least when I got into judging PKRA, the trick list was completely arse up. I'd never read anything more confusing or wrong at a competition. And over the time that I was there, myself and Ian, we worked on improving the trick list and upgrading it to pretty much what they're using now, I guess, is still our trick list. And honestly, we didn't do that much. We just looked at the wakeboarding trick list, added all the things in that people were doing from that, because at that time, all the names were coming from wakeboarding anyway. It's just that kiteboarders were somehow mixing up certain names of tricks. Like there used to be a lot of problems with slim chances. People calling front blind mobs, they were just calling them front mobs, and they were calling front mobs NISs, and all this this stuff was just wrong. And back mobs were low mobs, and back to wraps, and all this silly naming conventions were going on, which were just confusing people basically. And to this day, some people are still confused about that stuff. I still see people getting confused about a blind judge and a Rayleigh to blind. Like, a Rayleigh to blind is a blind judge, just like a backside back mob is a KGB. It's the same thing. This idea that a blind judge is somehow a Rayleigh to blind that you pass in the air, it's completely wrong. So if you're one of the people on the stream watching and you've been saying that, just stop saying it. It's not right. Tricks now, I guess. What's happening now? People are making up a lot of ridiculous big air tricks, I guess. Maybe that's what you're talking about. I guess the names are just getting crazy long. If people are doing like triple front roll, contra loop, tic tac, board off, board flip, you know, bar spin, it's too many things. I'm not sure what the answer to that is making a new name for all that stuff in one. Is that a good idea either? Probably not. I mean, maybe there is no answer. Maybe that just says something to how ridiculous whatever that trick is. If it's really that long to say, maybe it's not that good of a trick. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, let's move on anyway. No point to dwell on that one. Oh, this is kind of along the same line. How was it to judge the PKRA? Did you ever see guys or girls physically fight over a result? Femi Collins. Whoa. To be honest, I don't really remember anyone physically fighting. over a result, although that would be pretty sick if they did. It would have been good. It would have been good jokes if they did. I'm sure I would remember it. Honestly, I feel like most riders, if they were angry, probably wouldn't fight each other. They would fight the judges or the head judge or whatever else. So I do remember times people being like super pissed off coming into the tower or whatever and just blowing up that they lost their heat and that they shouldn't have lost, which maybe sometimes was probably called for, I think, a fair bit of the time. But yeah, I never saw anyone physically fight over a result, actually. Like, man, I felt like punching the head judge in the head a few times, that's for sure. A lot of results and a lot of calls that I thought were pretty stupid and not fair at all. So yeah, maybe I was the closest to punching someone in the head. Let's get another question now from Eugene. He's saying, strapped versus strapless wave riding from a difficulty and visual perspective. Well, I mean, surely being strapless difficulty-wise is harder, right? Are we still having that conversation? Do I need to explain why not being strapped connected to the board would be harder for riding waves than being strapped to it? I mean, sure, you could probably do some mobs or some other crazy things with straps on that are difficult, but if we're talking about just standard wave riding, I think strapless difficulty-wise is definitely a lot harder. From a visual perspective, I don't think they look much different if you were standing in the right spot on the board. I think the problem a lot of the time is people with straps are standing in a pretty weird spot on the board, whether that be like kind of like wide and poo stancy or far back from the nose. I see a lot of weird stuff with people riding straps, so I mean, maybe that's just because better people are riding strapless these days. I don't know. But a visual perspective, I don't know. I don't think it changes that much. I think you can make anything look sick. I don't think like necessarily like you just having no straps is going to make you look better than having straps. I think that like argument's stupid. But yeah, that's what I feel about that one anyway. If you want to ask some questions in the chat, don't be shy. I can see there's at least a couple people online here. How to cut a bar. Line length for freestyle. What do you use? I saw a video from Carolina. She uses 20-meter lines and a 14-inch self-cut bar. Andre KM. Well, how to cut a bar. That's going to be different for what brand you're using. There's quite a few different ways that the bars are made these days. I mean, it used to be quite easy. Every bar used to just kind of have plastic slip-on ends, and you could unscrew the end from the bottom, pull it off, chop the bar to length, trim the EVA a little bit, and slide the connector back on. So if you have an older style bar, this is going to be pretty easy to make a shorter bar. And I'd almost suggest if you really want to try a shorter bar, so you want to try something like 14-inch or 15-inch, maybe just find an old bar. There's a lot of old equipment around. People don't seem to like old bars anymore. I think they're still fine. Maybe, find a slingshot bar is really easy, for example, to do it with. So maybe find an older slingshot bar. Just use the bar, cut that bar down, make sure the back lines are the length you need them for your setup, and try that out first before delving into doing something that's going to be really hard and you might ruin it. Try it with an older bar that you don't care about first. Newer style bars, like I know like Ozone, who else? Ozone and quite a few other people nowadays. The ones with these big kind of EVA ends. Underneath those EVA ends, if you trim around the bottom, let me see. I can at least give you some recommendation about what you can do. So all right. So if you have a bar that's a style like this, where it has these big EVA bumper type ends, usually the way these bars are made is it's aluminium, it goes out to here underneath, and this point here, where the line comes out of, is actually like a little metal kind of like flange, or I don't know, what the hell do you call that? Like a little metal prong that it's kind of countersunk at the bottom into the bar, and then it extends upwards to about here. So it's inside this whole EVA bit, this metal tube, and the line comes out of that. So if you slice with a razor, you slice the very bottom around here, and you only need to slice to about here. You can peel it. It's actually pretty easy to peel up. It's kind of stuck with contact adhesive glue. Peel up, and you'll be able to pull this whole end off. We'll kind of be able to slip off, and once you've slipped it off, you'll see that there's this metal post here. You want to take a mallet, hit the top of this metal post with it sitting. I wouldn't put it in the vise, just sit it like on top of the vise, put the vise like here, hit this top part, and this metal tube will come out. And then when you shorten it, make sure you measure the bar and make sure to cut an even amount of each side of the bar. I've seen people make this mistake before. They have a bar that's say 16 centimeters and they want to make a 14 centimeter bar, and then they just cut one side too short. I've seen it so many times. So make sure if you want to make say a 14 inch bar, measure 7 inches from the center outwards, make a mark. Measure 7 inches from the center outwards, make a mark. And then you're going to see, when you've pulled this off, you're going to see where you're going to have to drill these holes. It's a smaller hole on the top and a bigger hole on the bottom, basically. And I would recommend starting with the smallest size drill bit and working your way up to this bigger size. So to do a really good job, you probably want to use 4 or 5 different drill bits to get to the size that you need for the bottom of this bar, I think. Because if you just go from like a small one straight to a big one, you're going to drill a hole that's kind of off center, and then this metal part is going to be sticking out on a weird angle, and your bar's going to be kind of like skew. So maybe that doesn't matter for you, but that would really drive me crazy. There's a lot of other bars that are kind of like this system, so I'm assuming you're like this. If it's the Naish bar, that's really difficult to cut down. I'd almost recommend not doing it. It has like these little pieces in the bottom. Can probably see it in this picture. Yeah, the ones that have these things, this little pull-out tab to flip your lines around, these are really hard to make shorter. So I really don't recommend doing that, because I think to do this properly, you need a milling machine. You need something that's precise, that can mill this rectangle hole in the bottom of a bar that this can fit into. And I think unless you take it to a machinist or you have those skills and you have a milling machine, I think you're going to fuck it up. So my opinion is any of these bars that have these pull-out tabs to flip it around to make the bar shorter and bigger, don't do it. Don't make it shorter. Yeah. And also, actually, on that note, I haven't made my bars shorter for the torches. To me, the smaller size actually feels fine. The torch isn't a crazy fast kite, and yeah, I've been fine with that length of bar. So yeah, I don't know what kite you're riding. I did used to shorten the ozone ones down to 15 inches, but you could also ride the stock one 38 centimeters, and I think it's fine. Ewan Jaspin, what are your travel plans for the upcoming months? Why are you logging this down? Are you going to tell everyone what I'm doing? My travel plans, well, today actually I spent a good part of the morning trying to do some work on the van. I was trying to reline the doors of the van with some material. It was super frustrating. It was windy, it was dust blowing everywhere. The baby was angry. It wanted food. It wanted to go home. It was cold. Felt like just burning down the van actually, and just getting the money for it. But yeah, the plan is to go in the van to Sardinia, and we're doing clinics and coaching there. So we'll hopefully be there for most of the summer. And if you haven't seen it, this is where we do our this is Sardinia. This is where we do our big portion of our kiteboarding clinics, at least the ones that are online for now. We've got Sardinia, 29th to the 3rd, and the 24th to 28th of June. So if you're interested in clinics, have a look on this site, Game on Kiteboarding. We'll be there for the summer in our van, having fun, kiteboarding and doing some clinics. So yeah, that's definitely my plan for the upcoming months. I don't know what else I'd be doing. Fixing the van and getting to Sardinia. Bridge says, bars now so expensive, no way you can be cutting it up with a razor. I mean, yeah, if you bought a brand new bar and you paid full price, I could understand that. That's a fair call to make. But like I said, I feel like you can get a secondhand one, an old one, that they're like so similar. They haven't changed. It's a piece of aluminium with a couple plastic end caps. Like, sure, it might look a little bit different. It might not be pink or something for you, but it's not the end of the world. I think you should just, if you really want to try a shorter bar, just get an old bar and cut that down first. Or go to Kite Mania. They're probably giving them away for free. Bridge says, making a bigger chicken loop is more valuable pursuit in his opinion. Yeah, I mean, having the right size chicken loop is definitely a more important thing, I would say, ergonomic wise, than having the right length bar. Having the right length chicken loop is kind of everything. If you're a big person, you've got long arms like me, and you're using a micro loop and your arms are like super close to you, everything's wrong. Your ergonomics for doing a trick are totally wrong. Like your body position, everything's just completely fucked up. So I'd agree with Bridge. If you're going to do anything to customize your gear, try and find or make a bigger chicken loop. Making one is kind of harder than it sounds these days. I don't think a lot of brands are very easy to customize their chicken loop. So my recommendation would be try to find a brand that already has a big chicken loop available, and then customize that to your setup. Like, you don't need your bar, if it's a duotone bar or whatever, to have the exact same chicken loop. It doesn't change anything. Just find the right size chicken loop for your arms and yeah, mod that to your your already existing equipment. Lauren Holman says, what are your thoughts on the Swines' new lifestyle? Which swine, Lauren? You mean the big pig? I don't know. He looks like he's having a good time in the US of A and hanging out with his family. I don't know. I kind of pretty jealous, to be honest. Looks like a good time. Get me on board, big pig. All right. This is a good one from Roy. Roy. How to progress in KB freestyle with a normal week of working or during cold winters? Roy Polymans. How to progress in freestyle with a normal week of working. I mean, a lot of doing tricks, Roy, is visualization. If you're thinking about the trick you want to be doing a lot of the time, like before you go to bed, when you're just hanging out and you don't have something to do, you got a free moment, maybe you're on the bus or you're on the train on the way back from job, this is going to help a lot. Visualization is, I don't know if it's, I don't know what percentage, but it's a lot. 80% of doing a trick maybe is thinking that you can do it. If you believe you can do it and you can see yourself doing it in your head, you can think of all the steps that you're going to do with your body, you visualize every little aspect of that trick, there's a good chance that if your skill level is high enough that it's possible for you to achieve it, if you think about it enough, when you go to do it, you're going to get pretty close to doing it. So my recommendation is really think about tricks, visualize how to do them, and then when you get a chance to go kiteboarding, you're not going to be wasting time just doing random stuff. You've already got that idea in your head of what you want to achieve, you know how it should look, and you can go from there. There's really not too much else I think you can do. I think maybe doing other board sports is a good way to still progress at kiteboarding. You know, if you can skateboard, if you could snowboard, if it's snowing, these are all things that are going to progress your board level, your awareness on a board, your balance. These are like the main things in a board sport is having good board awareness, good balance. So yeah, if you can skate, maybe indoors, you can snowboard. If you have the chance to go snowboarding, that might help as well. Carolina says, Roy, come to my training in the off season. There you go. Carolina has online training courses. If you want to stay fit, you want to stay healthy, and you want to be at your best to get it when you have time to get it, she's not wrong. Doing some kind of training, working up to what you need to do, kite specific workout, as Alex Mendel says. Alex also not scared to work out in the off season. You're going to be way more on top of it than not. If you just sit around and you're sitting at your desk all day at your job, you're going to have a hard time probably when you go kiteboarding again. So yeah, keep fit, keep healthy, keep active, and that's the best you can do. There's definitely some people I know that don't kite a great deal, or they don't do some sports a great deal, but when they get back on the board, they're still really at a pretty high level, and I would say it's because of that. They're still very active people. They're still doing a lot. So yeah, I don't want to rabble on too long about that, but keep active, man. You got to do stuff. Oh, this is a big question. Whose responsibility is it to keep freestyle alive? Pros making videos, brands, comps, or us regular guys? Johnny fucking Wallace. Johnny, good question, mate. Whose responsibility is it, eh? Fucking everyone's slacking by the sounds of things. Pros making videos. Well, the thing is, we've already talked about this. There isn't any pros, really. There's no freestyle pros. I don't know, maybe one, maybe two freestyle pros. So I don't think them alone making videos is going to change much. It's probably up to us freestylers to make videos, though. I think you're semi-right. Keeping a video culture alive is helping support that mentality and helping give guidance or give some kind of, what do you call it? Give motivation maybe to the younger guys if they're interested in freestyle. It probably is up to brands, you know. They probably don't think it's up to them to keep freestyle alive, but if we to look at the history of the sport, I think freestyle's been a massive part of the sport, and it would be naive to kind of dispute that or just decide that that's not important anymore. I think if something has been such a big thing and such a huge part of brands making money and brands surviving and, you know, moving into new times and selling new products, I think like to just throw away your history is kind of stupid, honestly. I think that's a big problem we have in kiteboarding, actually, is that history just is forgotten and dismissed and trashed all the time. And that goes from videos people have made, riders, equipment. All the whole industry is just so focused on moving to the next thing that's going to make them money, or they think's going to make them money, that they just disregard and just trash everything that came before it. Yeah, we've seen it over and over again with so many disciplines now. Like we're in the big air sector for now, but you know, before that was the strapless freestyle. You know, before that we had wave. Before that we had freestyle. Before that we had park. Before that we had as well some kind of like big air and stuff. So all these things are just going in circles, but I think we really need to concentrate on building a culture, building up these different disciplines, and then keeping that going. Like, you need to support these different disciplines even in times where they're not selling well or it's not doing so well, because these are just cycles. They're happening over and over again. And if you throw one thing out and then you try to come back later and say, hey, we actually love this thing now, we're making the best equipment for it, and people say, well, where were you for the last 5 years when it wasn't popular? You said that was dead. So yeah, I think it's even in the brand's best interest to support a wide range of disciplines, even if that's not what, you know, the wider public or social media or whatever agrees with. There's still a lot to be said about keeping a culture alive and keeping people interested and motivated, so that the brand and the sport continues to grow and evolve over a longer period of time. What's he saying as well? Is it responsibility of comps? I don't know if it's really the responsibility of comps, because comps are, for the most part, they're a corporate venture, aren't they? Like, you want to take GKA as an example, they're just making money. They're not there to help the sport or to do something like intrinsically good for the sport, in my opinion. They're there to get paid, and the way it operates, the amount that people are getting paid to be judges, to look after the tour, to do the media, compared to what the riders are getting paid to go to that tour, that kind of says it all. It's a job for them. It's not about them having a responsibility to show all disciplines of kiteboarding or whatever. So, I mean, I don't think it's responsibility of any comps to keep freestyle going. Is it up to someone else to run a comp if they're passionate about freestyle? Maybe, yeah. Maybe you should think about doing that. If you really love freestyle and you've got enough people that are motivated about it, make a small comp and make some noise about it. Maybe that's a good idea. Is it up to us regular guys? Kind of. I think if you're passionate enough about freestyle that you want to see it around still, I think it is a bit your responsibility to do things about it. Watch videos, talk about it, support the riders that are doing the riding that you want to see. That's also a big part of it. Unfortunately, we're not in a sport really where riders have a pro model and they're getting a cut from getting paid or whatever. Oh wait, I'll show you. You want to keep freestyle around? Here's what you can do. You go to this website. You go to this website and you buy a board. You buy enough boards, I can pay someone to be a freestyler. If you don't buy enough boards, no freestyle. There's your answer. Well, that ended quickly, didn't it? Oh, we got another one from Johnny Wallace. He's kind of on the bangers tonight. If freestyle drops any more in popularity and brands stop making sea kites, what the fuck will we do? Johnny fucking Wallace. Good question. Well, luckily there's kind of a lot of freestyle or sea kites on the second-hand market, so for the immediate future we wouldn't be fucked. Later on, I guess we're probably not going to have a great time. Maybe if there's enough of us, we can band together and convince someone to produce a sea kite, make our own brand of sea kite. If there was enough people, I definitely know some people that could make it happen. So I don't know. I don't think they're just going to completely disappear. I think that would be kind of reckless, and I don't think it would be good marketing neither. But if they did totally disappear, maybe there's enough people that are passionate that could do something about it. That's my 2 cents. Johnny Wallace just asking a lot of questions, isn't he? What's the go with the 5-line patent? When it finally ends this year, will we finally see more sea kites? Johnny. I don't know what you're talking about. What 5-line patent? There's a patent for the 5-line bar, the duotone. Well, it was North, but the duotone, I don't know if is it called the Ironheart or is that the quick release? I don't know. But anyway, duotone North had the 5-line patent, but it was on the control system, and it was that the 5th line would be the safety line, basically, was the patent. So if you've ever seen, for example, the Ozone amp, its safety line is still one of the front lines, and the 5th line is fixed to the top of the depower strap. And in that scenario, they don't need to pay the patent. So when that patent finally ends this year, if that's the patent you're talking about, I don't think we'll see more sea kites, because I don't think that was any part of the reason why anyone was making sea kites, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong, but yeah, I don't think so. All right, move into one of the main topics for tonight. And I thought I'd look at this one first because it's kind of online with what we've been talking about. Why keeping it legit matters. And for those that are wondering, what's this legit you're talking about? And it's not really, there's nothing per se that you can say is right or wrong, or is legit or is not legit, but I'm talking about displaying kiteboarding and performing kiteboarding in a way that would appeal to other board sports. I think this is, in my opinion, this is legit. Is doing something that translates across board sports, and doing something that if other board sports saw it, they'll be interested in it. So I think keeping it legit does matter more than a lot of people think, because where we're, as a sport, where we're going to get this funding for competitions and for sponsorship for different riders is usually from brands that already have some idea of board sports and what's happening within board sports. And if they look to kiteboarding and they see all these wacky things happening, like people missing grabs in the photo for a brand's product release, or they see guys dangling around doing some weird form, like wakeboarding already is not really the best sport to sponsor as far as a board sport goes, but if you're doing some form of wakeboarding that just looks like some crazy dangle behind a kite, I'm just going to go out there and say that these brands that sponsor other board sports are not going to touch it. They're not going to want to have anything to do with it. So, everyone thinks there's going to be some magic corporate player that will just enter the market and fund big international competitions, and kiteboarding will just boom from there and we'll all be saved. But history says that's not going to happen. That's not the case. If anything, what's going to happen is a big corporate player will enter, they'll put some money into it for a year or two, they will realize they didn't make a very good return on investment, and then they'll leave. Or they will just screw you in some way. And we already saw that. There was Virgin. What happened? Gone. Was it even a year that they had the Virgin Kite World Tour? Maybe it was 2 years. But came, gone. Not a good return on investment. And that same thing would happen for every corporate brand. And that is because a corporate brand is fixated on making money. They enter kiteboarding because they see that as a cheap way of advertising and making money, because they know that they can just extort this small sport that won't say anything bad about whatever's happening and will do everything for a cheap price. And then when they realize that they're still not making a very good return on investment, because kiteboarding's pretty much a niche, very niche board sport, they're going to leave. Carolina says, what about Qatar Airways? I mean, yeah, it's a similar thing, right? I mean, the world tour, where's the prize money from Qatar? I don't see any big prize money. The prize money's less than it was in other previous years of PKRA. So we've got this huge name sponsor like Qatar branded all over the tour, but we're not getting anything out of it. What's going on there? Come on. So yeah, my opinion is, if it were possible, which I guess it's not possible, it's just a pipe dream, but if it were possible that we held ourselves to a bit higher level and kept things a bit more legit, we would then be able to go to brands that are already in the board sport realm. They understand board sports. They want to be, associated with board sports. They maybe would be interested in kiteboarding and keeping kiteboarding going and relevant. But hey, that's my little rant for now on the subject, and I think we'll move on from there. FemiCollins.wav says, how can we pull the same string in kiteboarding without hating on each other? I guess this kind of goes a little bit with what I was just talking about. Unfortunately, I think hating or giving some kind of constructive criticism is really needed in our sport. I don't think it's happening enough. I think the reason we've gone back to missed grabs and bullshit like that being, okay advertising for a brand is because no one's saying anything anymore. Everyone you know, we're in this politically correct environment now where everything's great, everything's cool. It's not though, is it? Obviously, if you're not giving any kind of feedback as to what people are doing or to, you know, what's scoring well in a competition, then how is anyone going to know the level that the things need to be at? Like, how you like? Here's a prime example. I'm gonna talk about something that's probably pretty controversial, but I'm seeing a lot lately of people claiming new tricks, and most of the time it's claiming something that clearly isn't a new trick. It's either already been done by someone, or it's just they've done the execution so poorly that to claim it as a new trick would be a really big exaggeration. Like, they need to up the execution to call it a new trick. And there's a few people I could bring up. I don't want to bring up their names, but there's a few serial offenders of calling new tricks across social media right now. And when I click on a lot of these things and I check, okay, so has anyone in the comments actually given some good constructive feedback to this person? Have they told them, hey man, this execution's like completely wrong for the trick you're claiming it to be. You haven't done a new trick. Or is anyone saying, like, maybe you need to do it a bit better first or whatever? Like, no. Pretty much every case, the comments is just, you know, 50 or 100 comments of people just like, wow, man, that's the greatest thing I've ever seen. You're so good. Wow, thanks, cool, yeah. And just giving massive props to someone for really not even doing a new trick. And whilst I do think like being positive, giving support to your friends, not being a dick to people, like that's like massive up on my list of things you really should be doing. There's also a point where you need to be realistic. If someone's got this crazy idea about something and they think they're doing like a new trick that's clearly not a new trick, maybe you should make a post on their post and say, hey man, like, stoked you're trying and stoked you're doing this stuff, but I don't think that's what you think it is, or that's not a new trick in my opinion. Like, maybe people need to chime in a little bit more with stuff like that. So yeah, I think we can pull the same string, Femi. I think I have nothing against, people think I hate big air, people think I hate strapless freestyle, people think I hate all these things, and it's not like that at all. I don't hate any discipline any more than any other discipline, actually. Like, some disciplines I enjoy doing more than other disciplines, but you know, I always have feedback for every discipline or everything. There's always good and bad things in there, and oftentimes people are only, you know, noticing or looking when you say something bad or you give constructive feedback on something versus you having, you know, a positive opinion. You have a positive opinion, you like something, you comment good on something, and people don't see that. So, I mean, I don't think, yeah, no one needs to hate on each other, but I think people should be more open to giving feedback on different subjects and things within kiteboarding, and not getting so offended every time someone has a different opinion to them. Ooh, got a question now from Erin Los Coco, who is one of the original people that started the Facebook kiteboarding group. And he asks, what is your favorite trick and what is the hardest one you have done? Wow. My favorite trick? Jesus. I don't know if I really have a favorite trick. People ask this question all the time, and some people are just like, yeah man, I love a front to blind, that's my favorite trick. I don't really have a favorite, Erin. The riding I like to do is varied, and sometimes I like doing some things and sometimes I don't like doing some things. So I don't think I have an all-out favorite trick. all the things that I do, I kind of like doing, or I wouldn't bother doing them. So if you see it in a video and I've done it, I liked it. That was one of my favorite tricks. What is the hardest one I've ever done? Also a good question. Probably just a straight kick flip on a wake skate. It's ridiculously hard unhooked. I've tried so many times to do a good one. I've tried over and over and over and over and over, and I've only done probably a handful of like ones that I would consider like really good and really clean. So it's probably the hardest thing I've done, or hardest thing I've worked to do is like a really good, clean, straight, unhooked kick flip. I think that's my answer. Bridge says, how can we get more young people into the sport? Seems pretty important for keeping the more intense disciplines of the sport alive. Fully agree, Bridge. I think I've mentioned it in the previous live stream. We've got a big problem. I think the youth drop-off's huge. I don't think there's anywhere near as many kids doing the sport as when I was a kid. In the early to late 2000s, there was a lot of kids in Australia. We had like massive competitions with tons and tons of juniors and early men, I guess you could call them. And yeah, there was even like one place in Australia, Tannum Sands. There used to be like probably like 40 kids that kited there, and they had their own competition there every year. It was like freestyle with rails and kickers and wave kickers, and yeah, it was massive. I haven't seen anything even close to approaching that nowadays. You see kind of the same kids' faces on the internet or at beaches sort of around Australia, and I see the same thing across the different countries. Like there's a few kids that are doing it, but it's really not that many, and it's definitely not enough to support the more intense disciplines. And I actually think it's also not enough to just support the sport long term. I think kiteboarding's a pretty aging demographic, kind of like windsurfing. If we look at the timeline of windsurfing, a lot of younger people were into it when that was the trendy thing to do when they were younger, and then they kind of progressed with windsurfing until they were old enough where they couldn't do it anymore. And at that point, some people went to kite surfing, and now some people are going to other sports too. But once those older people that were really passionate about windsurfing died off, windsurfing took another massive drop, and now I don't think there's a lot of people doing windsurfing compared to earlier. And we could say that's because of kite surfing, but now, hey, we could say a similar thing in kite surfing about now there's winging, there's prone foiling, there's sup foiling, there's all these different things that can take people away from kite surfing as well. So are we going to follow a similar line to windsurfing? I don't know. But if we don't get more youth into the sport, I think it could be a real possibility. So how can we get more youth into the sport? I mean, I think we need to have programs. Our national bodies should be trying to run some kind of programs with the professional or the pro or experienced riders from the countries. A youth kind of program, getting kids from schools to come fly kites and to do different stuff like that, because that's ultimately the entry to the sport. I feel for young kids is you flying a kite. I never got into kiteboarding just jumping on a board and going along. It was about flying a small kite, and that's attainable. I think that's easy to do with a large group of kids. You have a few different kites, a few different people setting it up, changing them, and then talking to them and trying to inspire them to get into the sport. Because let's face it, right now the only way a kid could get into the sport is if their parents or their relatives are doing the sport and they have the equipment already. Kiteboarding is really expensive for a kid, and it's only getting more expensive, which I think is perhaps the reason we're seeing, you know, less and less kids doing it. Sure, right now there's a big surplus of secondhand gear. You can get into the sport very cheaply, but you still need guidance. You still need someone that can tell you what's a good decision to make about equipment, steer you in the right direction. And you know, if you're a kid that doesn't have anyone around to help you with that, I think that's going to be difficult. So, Oleg, kite and weight. I can't hear you well. Can you turn up the volume? Well, the volume's at max. We had the other people saying that the volume was all right. I can turn it up a little bit. Did that make any difference? I don't know if that made a difference or not, but my levels say that the volume's pretty good. We're going to move on to the next question now, and it might be right up you and Jaspen's alley. What is a pro kite surfer? What is required from the rider, and who and what is offered by the sponsors? And it's by Ewan's favourite man, Alex Sands. So what is a pro kite surfer? I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory, right? A professional in any sport is someone who derives their income off whatever it is they're doing. So I would say, you know, a pro kite surfer is someone that could support themselves and possibly their family from kite surfing. What is required from the rider, and who and what is offered by the sponsors? I mean, this is going to be completely sponsor dependent, and it's going to be, you know, also be changing if you're talking about a kite brand or if you're talking about, you know, some other brand of product or something that wants to sponsor you. So, you know, I could talk, I guess, a little bit about what's required from a rider from a brand. A lot of the time, you know, you're seeing deals where people are getting free equipment. Maybe they're getting paid a little bit of money. What's usually required is something like, you know, they have a detailed sort of media plan is made. You know, some people might have a contract to do competitions. That's one thing. But the main thing people would have is some kind of media plan where they're required to, you know, post on Instagram a certain amount of time each month. They're required to make a certain amount of, you know, longer form videos for YouTube each year. They may be required to do demo days and turn up for brand meetings or, you know, other meets or events that they might be doing. That's some of the things you might need to do as a sponsored rider. And what is offered is what I said. Usually, you know, you would hope you would get free equipment, and if you're lucky, then you're going to be getting paid, you know, something on top of that, a salary per year. And as I was talking about in the first question of the first main question of the stream, that's probably not a lot of money. We see in the sport right now, I don't think a lot of people are getting, in fact, you know, probably not even, you know, a handful of people getting paid over minimum wage as an Australian wage. So yeah, that's my answer for you, Alex. What do we got now? Olak, I have headphones and another video I hear loud and you weak. Okay, Oleg, sorry, I'm pronouncing your name wrong. Well, I can say that YouTube is hit and miss with audio volumes. Probably I'm live streaming, so my volume could be quieter just because of that. A lot of people do alter their YouTube videos if it's something that's already pre-recorded. They actually up the volume level to make it sound louder than other videos. So maybe that has something to do with it. I'm not sure. I did turn the volume up, and other people are saying it's fine, so I'm not going to mess with it too much, because some people might be watching and just getting annoyed by the volume changing a lot. Luke Atkinson says, how do you feel about 2 hands on the bar mid-turn? And for those that are wondering, I'm pretty sure he's talking about wave riding. Luke's, for those who don't know who Luke Atkinson is, he's also known as the Duke Cactuson on the Instagram, and he's a bit of a dude. He's a good wave rider and a really good foiler. And he's asking, what do I think about having 2 hands on the kite bar when you're doing a top turn on the surfboard? I guess he asked me this because he knew it would probably trigger me. I don't like it. I think it looks really bad. Obviously, if you're riding around and that's your level and you're having fun, that I'm not throwing any shade at you. Like, do what you want to do. I'm obviously not down there just hating on you if you're doing 2-handed top turns, but you know, if you're a pro rider, or you know, a brand's posting a photo of you and you got 2 hands on the bar in a top turn, I think it's pretty weak. I just aesthetically looks bad, and I just, you know, I don't think your level's good if you're doing that. There's something wrong. It's not a good photo. It's sort of like a missed grab. If you're not grabbing the board properly, just delete the photo. Get another one. I'm sure you can get a photo doing lots of other things other than a 2-handed top turn. We got one from Alex Mendel next. He asks, is Porto Botte going to be the new European HoodRiver at some point? I don't know. In what sense? Expensive as fuck? Hopefully not. A proper big slider park? Questionable. I don't know. I think it's definitely a good place if people want to come and ride some park, hang out, have a good time. Definitely hit me up. Come out there, come have fun, come ride. I think it's, you know, one of the best places we've got in Europe to do something like that. So if it did turn into the European HoodRiver, I wouldn't be mad, that's for sure. What does Oleg say? Oleg, what do you think about kiters from 2002 who moved to wing? Will they come back? What are you saying here? Did they time travel to 2002 to now to go winging? I don't understand the question. Or you mean people that started kiting in 2002 till present who now are wingers? Well, let's just address, will they come back? If people have gone winging, will they come back? Maybe. I think a lot of people, at least that I know, that move to winging from either kite surfing or something else, are people that are generally bored, I guess. They like to learn something new. They like that thrill of a new experience. They like a new challenge. So I don't know, maybe they won't come back to kite surfing, a lot of those people. They will just move on to something else. Maybe their next thing is going to be sup foiling. I don't know. I do think though that wing is quite limiting. Kite surfing is very versatile. I think kite surfing is the most versatile board sport. I've spoke about that a lot of times, and I think that people that do move away from kiteboarding, they might come back because they understand then that it's quite versatile and they can do a lot of different things that they couldn't do in their new sport, whether it be foiling, whether it be winging, whether it be windsurfing or whatever else. I think kiteboarding, yeah, there's just a lot of stuff you can do kiteboarding. And yeah, as you say, yes, they will come back to kite. We got a question from Linus here. Linus Erdman. What is my opinion on combining water and wind board sports in one event like Cape Verde? What do you mean? Water and wind board sports. Is there something I'm missing here? Water and wind board sports. Does it say something about what's happening in this event? I don't understand what you mean. Cape Verde for the first kitesurf event. Best wave locations. Complete water sport athletes. Kitesurf athletes. I don't know if it says anything about... I don't get your question, bro. Is there like surfing at this event or something else? Is that what's happening there? I mean, it's called the GKA Kitesurf World Cup. Oh, Josh, I see what you're saying. Kite plus wing event. You just mean like combining different. Yeah, I get you. Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about combining kite and wing in the same event, depending upon the window, depending upon how it's organized, depending on the prize money, I don't think it's the worst idea. At least, you know, if the GKA is the governing body for wing and for kite surfing, then if they're already there, it makes sense to do another competition and not waste resources. What I would say is not good about running a kite and a wing event together or in close proximity is if then you are taking judges that can judge both of these things. I think we've seen already, that's just a no-go. That was a big part of the problem in Brazil with the GKA. They took judges that could judge wave because they were having the wave event after and judge freestyle. Well, they couldn't judge freestyle very well, but they took people that they assumed could do both of those events. And yeah, obviously, I mean, at least the freestyle part of that really, really suffered. So if you're going to run a World Cup and it's going to be world level, you need world level judges. You can't be bringing people that you think can judge both disciplines. That's not a reality. People aren't switched on enough, I don't think, for the most part, to do that properly. You need people that have expertise in those different fields and those different disciplines to judge on a world tour level. That's my answer, Linus. Karolina says, is it the end of freestyle? I don't think it's the end of freestyle. Everything's going in circles all the time. Obviously right now, I think the whole industry is just down. Like anyone you talk to says they're not having a good time. They're not, their brand's not doing well. They're not getting, sponsors for events. They're not doing this, they're not doing that. And I don't think that is just isolated to freestyle. I think that's sport-wide. We even saw, I don't know who told me, but I don't know if I saw it. Someone told me that the big air comp in Tarifa, GKA dropped out of that, and then they're not sponsoring that anymore. After they took it from the big air kite league, they took over that event, GKA, and now they're dropping it. So, I mean, if they are struggling to support that event, I mean, that's a big air event, and they can't sponsor that. Maybe it's the end of the sport. I don't know. I don't think it's just isolated to freestyle, and honestly, I don't think that freestyle is really any less popular now than it ever was. I still think there's quite a lot of people doing freestyle. I just don't think it's something you see as viral videos on Instagram, and unfortunately that's where a lot of people get their idea or their bearings from as to what's popular and what's trending and what's happening is what's a viral video on Instagram. But you know, real life is completely different to the internet. You go down the beach and check what people are doing. It's, you know, 99% it's not big air. They're cruising back and forward, trying to do a back roll, trying to do a front roll, trying to do a small jump. All those things to me are freestyle. They always have been freestyle. If you want to call it big air, sure you can, but history says that's a freestyle move. A back roll, a front roll, a small jump. That's all freestyle. It's not big air. So I don't think it's the end of freestyle. I think freestyle's always going to be that base level of what everyone's doing, and yeah, I don't see it going away unless the whole sport goes away. Then maybe it's the end of freestyle. It's my answer. All right, we're moving into the end of the stream almost here, guys. Unless someone's asking some questions in the chat, I'm gonna jump into just going a little bit of what gear I'm currently riding on Naish, because some people are asking me this question. And what? No, I will not give you my cookies. So yeah, I guess jump into the kites first. And the main kite I'm riding is the Torch, which, all right, I didn't think this ahead, but it's not even on the website. All right, you can't buy it, guys. I'm riding something you can't buy. All right, the new Triad coming. I do like that in sizes of about 8 and 11. I like riding, I like having that in my quiver, 2 sizes of wave kite. Don't really need to go too much outside an 8 and 11. I can fill that in with other kites in my quiver if I need to. But yeah, Triad 8 and 11. Boxer, I really enjoy the Boxer. I think it's a really good foil kite, and I do use it quite a lot because foiling, if you don't know, foiling's one of those things you can do almost any beach all the time as long as it's deep enough. And the sizes that I have been riding in Boxer, previous years I had a 4, a 7 and a 9, and now I've cut it back to just a 5 and an 8. So I think it's possible, you know, if you want to ride in a pretty wide range of conditions, if you've got some different line lengths, that you really only need like a 5 and an 8, or maybe, you know, maybe a 6 and a 9, or even a 5 and a 9. I wouldn't recommend going over a 9 for a one strut for a foil kite. I don't see a lot of benefits in going over a 9 meter. I think it's a bit big, a bit clumsy, a bit heavy. Maybe if you have longer lines, a 10 could still work. But yeah, my advice wouldn't be to jump over the 9 if you're going to use this for foiling. I do have this kite as well in a 12, and I've had it in a 14 and a 6, and I have one in a 16. 16's a good one for light wind in the Boxer. It says it's not available, but I'm sure it is available at some point. At some points, I enjoy the 16 Boxer. It's quite a good light wind kite. It's just big and about as light as you can make it. Yeah. It's my recommendations for kites anyway from Naish. Obviously, besides I don't even know why the Torch isn't on there, but let's see. Here, so I mean, what the fuck? Can't be found. It just doesn't exist, the Torch, guys. Oh, here you go. I have this one at the moment in a 10, a 12, and a 14 torch. So yeah, that's my quiver for sea kites. And I guess we can go over some of the foil gear I have. I use this 810 kite. That's the main one you see me riding on the kite, with the smaller rear wing. I use the short fuselage, 75 cm mast, and I also use this 914 for prone foiling quite a bit, and I also use this Mark 1 700 for kiting, and for prone foiling I sometimes use the 1100 as well. So that's basically the quiver that I have now of foil wings. And the only other thing that you might see me riding is where is it? Sup? No. I don't know where to find it, honestly. Maybe it's on the foil site, but sometimes I'm riding the Naish prone foil 4.4 hover. I'm not riding the kiteboard, so some people might be confused about that. We got a few questions still in the chat, and we're gonna round these up, and then I think we're gonna shut it down. So if you want to ask a question, make sure you ask it before I finish these ones. Oleg says, I think that freestyle is less popular because in most of the conditions that I kited, which is not flat and consistent wind, it is very difficult to perform unhooked tricks. I mean, unhooked tricks aren't freestyle, Oleg. This is kind of what I was getting at just before in my little side rant, was that freestyle is a range of tricks. Freestyle is basically anything you want to do. If you actually look at the competition rules for freestyle, it doesn't say anything about unhooking. You don't have to unhook to be in the freestyle category. It's just that the higher level freestyle tricks, the ones that are going to score the best in a competition, are unhooked because they're the hardest to do. But freestyle of itself it encompasses basically everything you're going to do on the board. We never had this terminology, big air before. Those big air things didn't exist. And doing a jump, doing your first jumps, doing a back roll, double front roll, triple, all these things, those were freestyle. There was nothing stopping you from doing those in a competition, other than if someone did a trick that was unhooked in the freestyle category, it would be a lot harder and it would score better. So I get you that you don't want to unhook in not flat water and not consistent winds, because that is difficult. That is very true. You bring up a valid point there. Unhooking in general, even if the water's flat, is harder than not, as I said. But yeah, I don't think that's why freestyle isn't popular, because freestyle encompasses a lot of things that are not just unhooked tricks. Oleg also says, I tried a lot in wave condition and it is very difficult to progress. You mean freestyle? I agree. I think learning freestyle tricks between the waves is brutal. If you crash your kite, it gets trashed, and it doesn't inspire you to try much more. Where I grew up when I was a kid, where I learned pretty much, a big majority of my freestyle tricks and moves was in the waves. I don't have a flat water spot where I come from in Australia, and yeah, I didn't actually trash that many kites as you would think. A lot of the times, if a wave hits your kite and you're going with it, or you let go of the bar, your kite's not really going to get trashed that much. It's just going to wash in, and maybe your lines are going to get tangled, and that's going to be frustrating, but you're not going to trash that much gear. But I do agree, it is difficult to progress in choppy or wavy conditions. Far more so than it is in a nice consistent flat water location. Carolina says, I find it hard to find spots with winds blowing above 20 to 25 knots for big air. Last summer we had 1 to 2 days with winds above 25 knots in Poland. Carolina's right. If you look at wind stats, take out the globe, find a website like Windfinder or whatever that gives you wind stats for the year across the globe, and you'll see that actually a lot of the spots that people kiteboard, they're not getting above 20 to 25 knots. And these big air guys, they're on the constant search for 35 knots plus, So to think that a normal person is out there and getting those conditions and is really doing big air, I think is kind of naive. I think a lot less people are doing big air than brands might think. I think that the kites that are selling right now, like you take Naish for example, the pivot, that's the big air kite that is so popular because everyone's doing big air. But hey, the pivot's also just the best kite in the whole Naish range for someone to do anything they want on. It's the most versatile kite, so naturally it's the one that's going to be sold most. I don't think you can attribute that to big air selling that kite, and I think this is where a lot of brands are getting confused. They're thinking our kite for big air is selling because everyone's doing big air, but I think a lot of the time that's not the case. I think it's just the fact that they have a kite that's the most versatile kite and the most sensible choice for people to buy, which also happens to be the big air kite, is the reason that it's selling. It's not just because people think they're going to go do massive jumps on it. Oleg says, alternatively, wakeboarding in a cable park, easy to progress in freestyle direction. In a cable park, things are consistent, sure. The speed is consistent, the water's usually consistent, the obstacles or the kicker or whatever else are usually in the same spot. Your approach can be roughly similar every time. I don't think it's that easy though to progress at a cable park for air tricks. I just don't see that many people doing good air tricks at a cable park. Even a lot of kiters that go to the cable park, they're not doing particularly good air tricks. I see probably more people doing freestyle and air tricks and stuff kiteboarding, and I think that's because the path to progression for kiteboarding, you can really ease yourself into doing a trick. You can start with your kite a bit higher, you can go a bit slower, you don't have to go balls to the wall at that one speed the cable's going and edge super hard at that low angle that the cable's at. So yes, the cable is consistent and it's going to be similar every time, and if you have the balls to just step up to it and do it, you're going to have an easy time repeating it. But at the same time, I think kiteboarding is actually a really good tool for progression, and people can take small steps to get to where they want to go a lot easier than they could at a cable park. Carolina says, for most kite brands, definition of big air is boosting 20-meter jumps and kite loops in 30 knots. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Oleg says, I agree. I'm not in big air either. I'm actually in normal freestyle. I just dreamed of exercises that are in the competition and it's simply unattainable. Yeah, that's true. For the normal person, they're never going to do anything that's in a World Tour freestyle competition probably, and that's for the same reason that I'm not going to do pretty much any of the tricks someone's doing in street league skateboarding competition, or I'm not going to do anything that someone's doing in the X Games half pipe or whatever. You just haven't spent the time to do it. Sure, if you spend the time and you put in the hours, you can do something, but you've got to get there. You've got to make the steps. So for a normal person, I do agree. It's unreachable. Oleg is pronounced Alec. All right, well, I've fucked that in the entire stream, so sorry Alec. Maybe next stream I'll
I'll get your name right. Well, I think that's it, guys. We've come to the end of another stream. I've made a lot of money here. I'll probably be doing this next one from a private yacht. I thank everyone for coming, and once again, if you want to hear some more answers to your questions, or you just have a bit of a rabble, turn up for the next one, whenever that's going to be. Peace.